Hello, my name is Dr. John Essington. I'm a professor of teacher education at Blackburn College over in the United States. So I've been asked to kind of talk about what obstacles are faced by newly qualified educators as they enter schools. And I think generally we can agree that new teachers enter with high expectations. And those are obviously positives for their students, but we also have to realize that they also come in with some negative defaults. It's the idea that what does a good student look like? What does a bad student look like? What does a poor performing student look like? And also, what do students with disabilities, what do they look like? What do they act like? And it brings out this paternalistic nature in newly qualified teachers that we kind of have to deal with and kind of see as, okay, it's not a negative, but it's more of just a difference, right? So all of these students with disabilities are then seen as having barriers to their learning, which when we stop and think about it, all students have barriers to their learning that we as educators have to try to help them surpass so they can accomplish their own growth. So it's no different than any other student. So we kind of have to get past these initial defaults that educators have and starting to see all students as equally because they equally have issues that we have to overcome. So one of the ways to do this is that we want to focus more positively on the growth aspect. And that's the idea of each student can grow. Each student can become more educated. They can perform better from where they previously were. That doesn't mean every single student is going to perform exactly the same on every single assessment. But what it does mean is that we can see positive growth. And this is something that new teachers have to understand, that you might not get the exact same performance from every single student. That doesn't mean that you're not performing well as an educator, and it doesn't mean that student is not performing well. It just might mean they have differences, which needs to be positive. These differences bring in new perspectives that students might not see and that you might not see as an educator. And these differences then allow us to grow even more than we would have if we had students from different with different disabilities, students with different ethnicities. All these diverse issues need to be seen as positives rather than barriers that need to be overcome. And when we look at this, especially from the teaching perspective, every student learns differently. So then we use scaffolding, right? The idea of building up supports to help students learn and grow. And this is no different if you're working with a student with disability. They also need scaffolding, right? They need accommodations, they might need differentiation. But all of these are up here in every classroom, whether a student has a disability or not. They need different supports to help them learn. And I think the major thing we need to look at is how we focus on positive growth rather than necessarily a specific score. The scores are going to change, and they always have changed. That is nothing new in education. We think that scores going up and down is this new problem in modern society, but that's always been the case. So what we really need to look at is how much positivity and growth is occurring in each student, whether they're neurotypical or if they have a disability or a learning disability. And this is what new teachers kind of have to come to grips with, is this idea that all students are the same, and maybe our perspective of what a good student looks like is what really needs to change. Thank you.